and welcome to this episode of Talking About Rock. I'm Rob Edwards. Jerry Schmidt in Nashville is on assignment today and will join us next week. Today, we're excited to have on the show a guitarist who actually started as a classic cellist, but after getting thunderstruck by AC/DC's Angus Young, realized rocking with a guitar was his future. Please welcome to the show, Joel Hoekstra. Joel, how's it going today?
It's going great. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. So you had quite a rich history so far in your career. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, gosh, that's a long story. You want me to tell you about my whole career?
Well, you actually started. So you moved out to LA just at the end of the metal scene, right? As grunge was just starting to happen out there.
Yeah, I went to GIT and worked at Cherokee Recording Studios out there for a year, which was a great experience for a young kid, basically, who first time away from my safe suburban Chicago upbringing and everything. So
Right.
that was exciting. And then I went back to Chicago, and that kind of spawned like I guess almost about like 8 years of teaching 70 students a week and then kind of like taking off to do whatever gigs I had, which was initially my own band on weekends and things like that. And then joining up with Kathy Richardson locally and playing with her band. And this is leaving out a lot, but that kind of led me to work with Jim Peterick and be in his house band. Jim is from Survivor and Ides of March and great songwriter. And being a part of that world stage band eventually down the road led me to get my opportunity with Night Ranger. Kelly Kagi was one of the guests who would come out and sing the hits, and I got to play with a lot of people through that world stage gig. And then Kathy Richardson landed a role as Janis Joplin in a show called Love Janis, a theater piece. And that's what brought me to New York to do that. And that ended up running a couple years, so by the time it closed, I was basically a New York resident at that point in time and decided, like, I guess I live in New York now. I never really pictured that.
Right.
So yeah, all these things kind of happening simultaneously, and Love Janis closing, and me kind of going through a window of working with oldies bands, like working with the Turtles,
Right.
which
Is that when you got into the Rock of Ages show then after that?
No, that happened through subbing on pit gigs, really. So
Okay.
I'd done Love Janis, which was an on-stage performance theater gig, and then that same director put me in a show called It Ain't Nothing But the Blues. That was more of obviously a blues show. But then a friend of mine who lives just a block or two away from me in New York is a bona fide pit musician, guitarist, and he was like, hey, if you ever want, you can get the books from me when I get these gigs and you can sub. And so I did that on whatever he would get, and that kind of led to when Rock of Ages was put together as a theater piece in New York. The keyboard player from one of those shows became the music supervisor, and he said, I remember this long-haired guy who was coming in and play. He was kind of a rock guitarist first, being on those, so he'd be perfect for Rock of Ages, and so that's what got me hired there, and led to, I guess, over 6 years of that being a reality and running on Broadway. And like I said, at that time, I think shortly before Rock of Ages, I had joined Night Ranger.
Okay.
That opportunity came through working with Kelly Kagi and Jim Peterick's band, and I would say a combination of those things and just kind of being out there led to me having an opportunity to play with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and probably more being out there with Night Ranger led to the opportunity to play with WhiteSnake. I would say more of the real world band thing.
Yeah, that had to be a great experience, I'm sure, with Brad Gillis and Jeff Watson in Night Ranger.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, Brad was my guitar partner throughout that time, and Jeff and Night Ranger had already parted ways.
Oh, okay.
But Jeff and I are, we're good friends nowadays, and I'm good friends with both those guys. And but yeah, it was a great experience working with them. Working with Jack and Brad taught me a lot, and had a great time, great 7 years in that band, kind of, in coordination with playing with Rock of Ages at that time, and even with TSO for about 4 or 5 of those years. And then things kind of transferred over to WhiteSnake, and it was WhiteSnake, Rock of Ages, and Trans-Siberian Orchestra for a bit. Rock of Ages closed. David needed to take a year off, kind of led to me playing in Cher's band for a few years. So I've always just tried to keep multiple irons in the fire, to be busy 12 months out of the year rather than busy 5 months out of the year and sitting around depressed the
It
other.
seems like it. Yeah, you had a lot of stuff going on at the same time. I've seen the Trans-Siberian Orchestra shows. Those are amazing. And actually, a friend of mine used to shoot some of the pyro for the shows. And yeah, I love that. You know, and I saw some of your Rock of Ages show that looked like a lot of fun you guys had doing those shows back then as well. That looked great. Can you tell us a little bit how it went for the audition for Whitesnake? Did they give you a call, or did you actually just know someone and said, hey, they're looking for someone to join?
Well, I passed on video links to Reb saying, hey, I'd love a chance to audition. And I think he passed those along to David, and David maybe glanced at them real quick, and then I
Mhm.
didn't hear from him, just because I kind of sent him pre-existing videos. I didn't really take the time to go, hey, I probably should have
Put a new one together, right? Yeah,
film myself playing Whitesnake stuff for him, but
right.
I was like, well, this ought to be able to get me an audition, and then I'll learn whatever I need to learn for the audition. And then I didn't hear anything at first, but then I happened to I was trying to think who would know David that could, get in his ear and maybe get me an audition. And I happened to think of Phil Carson, who manages Foreigner. And I had filled in for Mick Jones in
Right.
2011 when we were on tour together, and did it on very short notice. And so Phil and I have a great relationship. And he also managed Dee Snider, who Dee was in Rock of Ages for a period. So I knew Phil enough to say, hey, could you do me a favor? Do you know David? Would you be able to write him an email? And he did, and that got me an audition. And that went really well right away. I mean, David and I, we get along. We still do all the way to date, and do really well. It was more or less like sitting down and talking with David for a bit, and then
Hmm.
going into the studio and putting up some of the stuff that was to be the Purple album.
Right,
And,
right. Yeah,
and
David's just one of the greatest singers and songwriters of rock, in my opinion. I think, great front man, amazing band that he's put together through these years and different songs. That had to be a great experience for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an honor to be a part of the band. It's an amazing catalog, some legendary musicians to work with, obviously, in David and Tommy Aldridge and Reb Beach, and the chance to work with those guys is definitely a huge thing. And the catalog is amazing, and the fact that they tour internationally was a really nice thing for me. At that time, Night Ranger had been touring the U.S. primarily, and we would maybe go to Japan, and that was about it. So for me to get out and travel the world a bit more with Whitesnake was important. Trans-Siberian Orchestra is also really primarily United States. I mean, we maybe like
Right.
a couple Canadian dates. So I had that thing going on where people knew me as a guitarist in the United States, but not really so much outside of. So Whitesnake has really opened that up for me.
Right, provided that opportunity, and you're still playing in Whitesnake, but then you got another offer for this new band they're putting together, right? Iconic, right? That's your current project.
Yeah, so that's something that Frontiers approached me, and Michael Sweet and I had been talking about doing a project for quite some time, and they have a young singer that I know, Nathan James, on the label as well, and they said, we'd really like to surround him with you guys as guitarists, and Michael could sing a little, and say, great, that sounds like a lot of fun. I've written with both of them. I'd worked with both of them. They were both friends of mine, and then they said, we'll take care of a drummer and bass player down the road. And I kind of thought, okay, well, it'll probably be a couple lesser known guys or whatever. And
then you guys end up getting Tommy Aldridge,
yeah, and then they end up
which
getting
is amazing name, right?
one of the most legendary drummers of all time, my
Right,
band,
exactly.
to come in and play, and Marco Mendoza, who's also a dear friend and an amazing talent on bass. So it's a great group of talent, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to be part of.
And you guys have released the first track you got out there called "Nowhere to Run." I've been checking that out. Sounds amazing. I really dig it. Can you give us a little background on that song a little bit?
All the songs really came together the same way. So Michael said, look, when I worked with George Lynch, he would give me the guitar riffs kind of to certain tempos, but not arranged as songs. He's like, don't arrange them in song form yet. Maybe give me like an intro riff, verse riff, pre-chorus, chorus riff, and I'll kind of splice it up as I would hear it, and then he added riffs where he heard them, or maybe took away if he felt like that riff doesn't fit as well and in the arrangement. And so from there, once Michael had arranged them into song form, it went on to Nathan and Alessandro, and they wrote the lyrics and vocal melodies for it. So it was very collaborative, and it's nice that everybody got to share in the experience, so everybody feels more attached to the project and not just simply, feeling like they were told what to play or record.
Right, everybody could get to add something into it to make it special. Yeah, well, I really love it, and I want to pump the video in here real quick for Nowhere to Run. We'll take a quick pause, and then we'll come back with Joel Hoekstra, and we'll talk a little bit more about ICONIC here on Talking About Rock.
Trying to live from
Okay, we're back here on Talking About Rock. Just watched the video for Nowhere to Run. So, like I was saying, amazing tune. It sounds great. So, what's in store now? You guys release a couple more tracks and then maybe do some touring, or what's the plan?
Yeah, so some singles will come out, and then the record comes out June 17. But people can pre-order in the meantime. And then in regards to touring, I mean, we're just gonna have to see how that's gonna work out eventually down the road. I mean, I'm right about to leave actually tonight, as luck would have it, for Dublin to start the farewell tour with Whitesnake. So,
Okay, gotcha.
and that really keeps me busy through the year, all the way up until I go out with Trans-Siberian Orchestra in November, December. And I think that you'll definitely see more from Whitesnake on the farewell tour in 2023 as well, because I don't think we're going to be able to get to every territory just simply this year. So we'll see where there's time. I mean, I would love to do some dates to support it, and I think it'd be exciting to play live with all those guys. But we'll see how that fits in. Everybody, and that's just my schedule. And then you got to consider Michael, having his schedule as well, and Marco is constantly. I mean, we're just that's a group of musicians that kind of never stop working.
Well, kind of like yourself. Yeah, you're going from one project to another. You're a busy guy. I'm so glad you could take some time with us today and chat about your history, chat about Iconic, the new album coming out, Second Skin from Frontier Records. It's going to be amazing, folks. Check it out. And if you don't get a chance to catch this gentleman on the Whitesnake tour, we hope we can catch him on the Iconic tour when that's going to be ramping up, or maybe even try Trans-Siberian Orchestra. That'll be happening. So excellent, great. So Joel, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you out there, definitely touring. Like I said, with the new band, it sounds fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate your time as well.
No problem, no problem. And if you folks out there have comments or questions for us, please feel free to email us at talkingaboutrock@gmail.com. Please like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And as always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for all our up-and-coming interviews. Joel, thank you again so much. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.